Welcome everybody. I'm Emil van Biljon. I'll be your MC for this evening. Before we start, let's just give everybody a chance to join our talk. Please, while we wait for everybody to join, let us know where you're from. It's inspiring to see the geographic and the diversity of the group that we've got here tonight. So please put in the chat box where you are from. In the comment section below. That would be great to see where you are from. So please join us and to say where you're from. And also it's interesting to see what profession are you in. So please share that from us for us. That would be inspiring to see. We'll give everybody about a minute or two just to join. I can see everybody's coming in quickly. I see we got Janelle there from New Zealand. We got Sean from France. We got from South Africa, we got from Slovenia, we got from all over. Wow, it's going too quickly to keep up with everybody. We got diversity from all around the world. So it's inspiring to see. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'll give you just one more minute for everybody to join before we get kicked off here. So I think that is good enough to let going there. So I can start with the introductions. Hi everyone, my name is Emil van Biljon. I'm part of the team here at the Demartini Institute and I'll be your MC for this evening. The topic for this inspiring webinar is the 5 actions to build momentum for achievements. At the end of the webinar, we're going to have an exclusive offer with bonuses. It will be for you who'd love to personal development and who's serious about getting the results that you do want to get in your life. You also get to attend Dr. Demartini's signature program called the Breakthrough Experience. So that offer will be explained more at the end of this webinar. You'll definitely want to take notes. So please make sure you quickly grab a pen and paper before we start. We have a lot of students that during the webinars that they say that they do want the comment section down or the questions and answer, but you'll see down in your panel box, there is a question and answer space where you can put the questions and answer in place as we go through the webinar. So the webinar's duration will be about 60 minutes with Dr. Demartini, including questions and answers at the end. So please, if you've got questions, please put that in the question box today. We'd love to have your questions and your engagement in this webinar. So just to introduce Dr. Demartini, I have worked with Dr. Demartini for the past 12 years. I've had the privilege to see a man on a mission. Dr. Demartini has dedicated more than 49 years of his life to study human awareness and potential. He has read over 30,000 books in 250 different disciplines and has traveled more than 8 million miles to share his research and wisdom with people from all over the world. We are incredibly honored to have Dr. Demartini with us on this webinar. Dr. Demartini, are you there?
I am, so here we come.
Beautiful. Where are you currently in the world, Dr. Demartini?
I'm happen to be back in London as of last night. I was in Dublin, but I'm back in London now.
Okay, beautiful. And you had a good day so far in London?
I did. I had a fantastic day teaching the values training program to a lovely group today.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Thank you thank you for being here with us on this webinar. You know, as before, we have discussed a few principles that we want to share with our attendants tonight, the 5 actions to build momentum for achievement. So the first one that we are going to discuss is, you know, we said about having goals, objectives that are congruent with our top 3 values, from 1 to 3, our highest values and priorities. Can you elaborate more on that, Dr. Demartini?
Yes, everybody, regardless of age or gender or culture, is living moment by moment by a set of priorities, a set of values that they live their life by. And whatever's highest on that list of priorities, whatever's highest on that list of values, the thing that's truly most important to their life, they spontaneously love doing. They don't require any extrinsic motivation to do it. They don't need motivation in a sense of punishment if they don't, reward if they do. They just innately, intrinsically feel called inside. Theologians have called it the calling. And whatever this highest value is, this is where, if they set goals and objectives that are congruent with that, this is where they're going to excel. My highest value is obviously teaching, because I'm, you know, traveling and teaching as much as I do. So nobody has to motivate me extrinsically to go and do what I love doing. And everybody has something that they love doing. And doing what you love and loving what you do makes your vacation and vocation the same. You don't have Monday morning blues. You don't have Wednesday hump days. You don't have thank God it's Fridays. You don't have week friggin' ends. You have a life where you are looking forward to getting up and contributing and being of service and solving problems and being remunerated and blessed by that. So setting a goal that is truly aligned and congruent with what you value most is where you're going to excel and where you're going to end up having the most fulfillment. The very highest value, I was just teaching that today, the very highest value is one of the most significant things a person can identify in their life. Your identity revolves around it. Your purpose is a reflection of it. Your epistemological understanding is maximized in it. That means you learn most effectively in that area. Just like a boy who loves video games, he automatically loves to study video games because that's his highest value. But whatever that highest value is, that's where you're going to expand your vision, expand your space and time horizons, give yourself permission to do something extraordinary. This is where you're going to activate the blood glucose and oxygen to the executive center in your brain. This is where you're going to end up having the most clear vision, the most lucid speech, the most fluency. You're going to have the most endurance and patience and perseverance. And this is where they just recently found out in the brain, when a person is living by their highest values, they tend to see things on the way, not in the way. They tend to see things as feedback, not failure. And they tend to have this incredible momentum and perseverance. I call it an individual on a mission. Most people really aren't living with a mission. They're living with an immediate gratifying passion, an animal passion, instead of a really inspired mission. And this highest value, living congruently, awakens an unstoppable mission. In that place, when I in the Breakthrough Experience program that I teach, I have people on a Sunday in the afternoon or in the morning write down what they would love to be, do, and have in each of the areas of their life. And I ask them while they're writing it to discern between the writings that spontaneously come out of them that they feel it's impossible for them not to fulfill, that they feel inspired to do, that they feel is destined. It's just destined. It just feels like it's impossible for them not to manifest. They see it in their mind's eye. They see it as if it's real, right now in the present. It's not even an imagination. It's just live in their mind. When you have that, you have an unstoppable state and you have the most clarity. And that's why setting goals or true objectives. Now, let me define an objective. Many people, because they compare themselves to other people, tend to put people on pedestal or put people in pits instead of putting people in hearts. When they put them on a pedestal, they tend to inject their values into their life and try to live according to other people. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. We're not here to envy people and try to imitate them. We're here to live authentically as an individual, standing out, not fitting in, not conforming, not being part of the herd, but being unique. When we live by our highest values and we don't inject the values of others, we have the most fulfillment and we stand out. We make the biggest difference because we're unique there. But the second we try to live in other people's values and have less fulfillment, because of the unfulfillment, we tend to activate an amygdala area of the brain where we look for immediate gratification instead of long-term vision. And so we want a quick fix instead of a long-term momentum building vision. And as a result of it, we tend to set fantasies instead of real objectives. A fantasy is something that has an upside without any downsides. And an objective is something that you're embracing the pain and the pleasure, the upsides and downsides in the pursuit. You know you've found what you really, really love to do in life when you're willing to endure whatever it takes to fulfill it. Pain, pleasure, sport, challenge, ease, difficulties, no matter what happens. So when people criticize you or praise you, it doesn't matter. As Emerson said, I'd rather have the whole world against me than my own soul. And to be great is to be misunderstood. When you're doing something great, people will automatically project their values onto you and try to get you to fit into their world. And if it happens to support what they're doing, they think it's great and support you. If that happens, it goes against what they believe is important in their values, they'll try to criticize you and get you to change. But in the area of your highest value, your objective, you embrace pain and pleasure, you embrace support and challenge, ease and difficulty, all pairs of opposites, and you're in a transcendent awareness where you're inspired by what you're doing and you're unstoppable. And I would say when you have enough inspiration and vision driving you, nothing on the planet interferes with it. And what happens when you're in that state, you also activate the inner voice and the inner vision. And when I said on The Secret many years ago, when the voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all opinions on the outside, you've mastered your life. So by setting goals, or objectives, better said, because that means really balanced states, not fantasies, one-sided things which are unobtainable, but by setting goals that are objectives, that are balanced, that you're willing to embrace the pain and pleasure, that you strategically planned and mitigated the risks of, and you're ready and handled, ready to go. You've already foresighted the ideas. You know what's to happen. You're prepared for it. You're not reacting. You're proacting. You're going to achieve the greatest things in your life, and you're going to grow from doing that. So setting goals that are congruent with the highest value is the first step in building momentum for great achievement.
And then, Dr. Demartini, just out of interest, what is the thing that you found is the one biggest challenge people have in terms of goal setting? What is a common thing that you've seen?
Well, many people are writing down, I mean, I see it every weekend in the Breakthrough Experience. They write down undetailed, unclear, vague, broad, general statements that are partly fantasies, that are pleasures without pains, that their life doesn't always show evidence to pursue. Your life demonstrates your values, your highest values, and whatever's really, really important to you, you're doing. I don't need to be reminded externally, like I said, to do teaching. My life demonstrates it. So if you set a goal outside what your life is really demonstrating, you end up self-defeating. And some people think in the positive thinking world that if you have self-defeating and negative thoughts, everything, that's bad. Oh, you want to get rid of those. I disagree with that. I believe the negative self-talk that you got is a feedback, not a failure, but a feedback to let you know that you're pursuing things that aren't really truly highest on your value. And the fantasy has to have its opposite, the nightmare. The philia has to have its opposite, the phobia. The illusion of pleasures without pains has to have the pains without pleasures. And they're trying to offer a feedback to get you to set real objectives that are really balanced, that are really aligned with your highest values. And so you're going to automatically have those things tend to think they're going to stop you. You're going to be thinking that those challenges or those negative self-thoughts are actually things that are interfering, but they're actually guiding you.
Yeah.
A wise individual sees everything on the way, not in the way. So anything that's going on in life, if you can't see how it's helping you get what your mission is, you're missing and not asking the right questions. In the Breakthrough Experience, I try my best to give people new questions so they can take the stuff that they thought was baggage and see that it's fuel. Anything you can't say thank you for in life is baggage. Anything you can say thank you for is fuel. So if you go back and ask yourself, how specifically is whatever is happening in my life, whatever I've experienced in life, how's it helping me fulfill my mission, my highest value, what's really my most inspiring thing? And answer that question, you build momentum automatically by doing it. So that's why it's important to not let distractions on the outside interfere with it, but use them as feedbacks to guide you. Your physiology, your psychology, your sociology around you, and your theological, existential things in your life are actually trying to get you to be authentic. And the most authentic you is the one that revolves objectively around what you value most in life. How are you going to have fulfillment in life if you're not filling your life full with that which is most important in your life?
And then Dr. Demartini, the second action that we've got is to have a clearly planned strategy chunked down into manageable daily actions. Can you please elaborate on that for us?
Yep. We have a thing called, anytime you're living by lower values, you tend to procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate. Anytime you tend to live by the highest value, you tend to be disciplined, reliable, and focused. So procrastination, hesitation, and frustration is a symptom of, one, you're doing something that you don't perceive is clear in your mind with a strategy. You don't see how it's helping you fulfill your highest value, and it's not chunked down enough in a small enough bite. What I found is that when doing corporate consulting with people and companies, I found out that everybody has a different time horizon. And I'm going to elaborate on this. I hope you don't mind a little tangent here.
Yeah, perfect.
But if you go, and I use this analogy, a factory worker who's usually has lowest engagement, that's not necessarily inspired by the job, who's living day to day, goes to job, wants a paycheck, wants to make ends meet, and lives kind of day to day. The supervisor that's governing him lives week to week. The lower management, month to month. Middle management, quarter to quarter, maybe year to year. Upper management might think in terms of a year or maybe further. Then you got the CEO maybe thinking in terms of a decade. And then you might find a visionary or somebody, maybe the owner of the company, the founder of the company might think in terms of a generation. Maybe they're the owner, the CEO of that. Then you got a real visionary that might think in terms of a century. And then you have somebody who's a sage that thinks in terms of a millennium. They're rare. You know, it's like when I wrote out my 1,000-year posthumous biography. You rarely see somebody that writes out goals for 1,000 years. And then you have the soul, and it thinks in terms of eternity. So the magnitude of space and time horizons in your innermost dominant thought will determine the level of conscious evolution you've attained. The more you are living according to your highest values, the more congruent you are, the more the space and time horizons grow. Why? Because when you set a goal that's aligned with your highest values, because you're disciplined, reliable, and focused, you achieve it. You tend to have a desire, once you achieve it, to set a bigger goal, and you tend to expand your space and what you can do and time. And you think in terms first, when you start out, in terms of yourself, then your family, then your community, then your city, then your state, then your nation, and your planet, and then possibly beyond the planet. And you think in terms of expanding your horizons of what you can do. You start thinking, wow, there's more I can accomplish in my life. So the magnitude of that, it was Seneca, the Roman poet, who said, you measure an individual by their most distant ends. So the individual that has the biggest space and time horizon is the person that has the biggest influence in the world. And you'll find if they're the ones that have the biggest impact. He said, if you set a goal that's immediate gratifying, you'll have little impact in life. And people who live by lower values that are injected from others and live according to convention and tradition and conformity and mothers and fathers and preachers and teachers, and they just live squashing themselves by injecting the super egos of other individuals and trying to live under the constraints of everybody else's belief systems, they shrink. They end up in their id, as Freud calls it, the tripartite of the soul, as he described it, the psyche, and it shrinks. And what happened? You have immediate gratification, which costs you. Warren Buffett says, immediate gratification costs you wealth building. Robert Greene says that if you have a very strong emotions and a very immediate gratifying things, you won't be a leader in life. You have to think about a broader vision. You got to stand at a transcendental overviewing effect and looking down on the planet with a perception of transcendence and neither judgment to be able to look back and manage things. Because anything you infatuate with or resent is going to occupy space and time in your mind and run you. And that running you makes you feel disempowered because you're extrinsically driven. And you lose your power. And then what happens is you end up playing small and you play in a smaller shrink space and you start thinking, I want a quick fix. And our world is very commonly in the media today dumbing down and wanting quicker fixed responses. And they don't realize that that's actually dumbing people down instead of actually expanding people outward. And Emerson said beautifully in his essays on circles that we're here to expand circle by circle in an ever greater sphere as we evolve. We want to expand our sphere of awareness and influence. And nobody gets up in the morning and says, I want to be less aware. I want to be less fulfilled in my business and successful in business. I want to have less wealth. I want to have a less fulfillment in relationship, less social influence, less well-being, and less spiritual awareness. They all want to have an expansion. So if we're not fulfilling our lives by our highest value and filling our day with high priority actions, inspire us and building momentum and going after and achieving ever greater circles or concentric spheres and seeing and giving ourselves permission to be like the sage and the soul, we're holding ourselves back and living by limits. And if we don't chunk goals down into small enough bites, we'll hesitate and we won't achieve. And by breaking it down, that's what strategic planning is about. The executive center in the brain was designed to strategically plan and lay things down in big visions and break them down to small bites. I wrote down that I wanted to travel and go to every country on the face of the earth, but I realized that's unrealistic to do in a short period of time. So I gave myself time to do it. And then I wrote down all the things I can do to expand that so I could one by one go to the different countries. We're now soon, in about 2.5 weeks, we'll be at 155 countries now with speaking. And we now have students from every country around the world. But that started with a big vision of a global vision and chunking it down into daily action steps that are all doable, that you don't have a hesitation on because you know you can do that little action step. It's like a domino. You take a little domino and put it next to a bigger domino and a bigger domino, bigger domino. The little one will knock over the next one, knock over the next one, and eventually it'll knock over a building if you have big enough progression of dominoes. And baby steps make big dreams, and piggy banks make big bankies. I know what bankies are, big banks. And what happens is you can do that with little action steps. I learned a long time ago, many years ago, probably in my 20s, 23 maybe, that to practice developing your power from a book from Instantaneous Personal Magnetism, what you do is you draw a perfect circle in your mind until you're satisfied. Then you draw a square until you're satisfied. Then you draw a triangle until you're satisfied. And then you go on to more complex structures until you're satisfied. And you start from simple things that are concrete to more abstract things that are more complex. And you train your brain to do what you say and develop a habit of achieving what you're intending. What this does is it builds momentum of achievement. And you automatically, by incremental things, build up. So if you chunk big projects down into small bites, in the breakthrough experience, I say, what is the end in mind? What is the last is first principle? What is the last thing you want to accomplish? Then ask, what are the 7 highest priority action steps I can do today to make that happen? And then any of those steps that are overwhelming, what are the highest priorities, 7 highest priority actions I can do to make each of those steps happen? And if those are anything overwhelming and they're not immediately doable, what are the 7 action steps I can do to make each of those happen? And you chunk it down into such small bites that there's no hesitation, there's just action. And then what happens, you just go from one to the other through the master plan, strategically planning it until you see your vision. And what, you know, they used to say in The Secret, just hold a vision and don't worry about the rest. But you don't get a clear vision unless you strategically plan. In fact, the second you're in your executive center and you get the visionary center up, the V5 and V6 in the cortex of the occipital lobe, once it's on, you see it. And when you see it and you can chunk it and you can plan it, it's yours. So I think it was Phelps that in his swimming could see himself doing every single stroke, every single step repeatedly in perfect form. And that's why he got 22 medals. So anything you can't see in your mind's eye is harder to do. Yeah, they say that those with a vision flourish, those without a vision perish. So taking the time to strategically plan, to get clear on the vision so you can see each step from small to large, baby steps to big steps, piggy banks to biggie banks. I learned wealth building when I started with a small amount of $200 a month. I made it 300, I made it 500, 750, 1,000, 1,100, 1,210, 1,344, 1,464. I just kept increasing at 10% every quarter until it was literally 200,000 something dollars a month into savings. So what happens is you just keep building it incrementally and you build momentum on that and you chunk down the big dream that you have into small bites and build momentums. And I don't believe there's anything in your heart. There's nothing mortal that can interfere with an immortal visionary that's inspired by what they do, that's chunked it down and is willing to take action steps. Like I say, it's the piggy banks that become the biggie banks, the little actions that make the big dreams. So chunk things down by strategic planning into small enough bites where there's no hesitation and watch what happens.
It is definitely the simple things that make the big difference in our visions and missions that we're busy building.
Well, I have one more thing. When I first started to learn how to read, right? I couldn't, because I didn't know how to read till I was 18. My mom, you know, helped me by one statement she gave me. And I went and got a dictionary out and I started reading 30 words a day. And on those 30 words a day, I read the word, I practiced spelling until I had all 30 words spellable. I used them in a sentence and I had to extract meaning out of that sentence. And I had to repeat those to my mother before I went to bed, actually by dinner. And if I didn't get it accurate, I had to do it before I went to bed. But I had to do 30 words a day, and 30 words a day. People laugh at that, but I had to start from a dictionary and memorize 30 words a day. But 30 words a day at the end of a month is 1,000 words, nearly 1,000 words, 900 words. At the end of a year, that's massive. That's like 9, 10,000, 11,000 words. The average person doesn't even have that vocabulary, but I increased my vocabulary so vastly over 1 year of chunking it down into little baby steps of 30 words a day. And eventually my vocabulary became enough to be able to understand pretty well anything I read. So if you just take little action steps every day, they get massive dreams. I keep records of my gratitudes every single day, just a little bit every single day. I've got 5,000 pages of gratitudes. And that's because of little action steps every single day. That's what builds momentum. You build something that's unstoppable that way.
And Dr. Demartini, our third one that we're going into is daily metrics, offering refinement or adjustments to these actions. Can you explain that a bit more? How does that play out to build momentum for achievement?
Well, if you really have a value on something and you really know it's important, it's a natural tendency to want a metric to get refinement to see if you're making progress. When I first started writing goals, I think some of those goals were not as clear and concise. Some were fantasies and they had to be refined. And I realized that if I'm going off and spending energy on fantasies and then self-defeating on that, that's not building my self-worth. That's not accomplishing is what I set out for. So I realized I better do an evaluation. Let me give you an example. I started setting goals and I started writing down the day I set the goal. And then I wrote down the day I wanted to achieve it. And very commonly, if I was a little manic and a little puffed up and proud and a bit cocky, I would set too big a goal in too short a time frame just to humble myself. And at the end of the time frame that I set, it didn't get done. And then if I would sometimes set a goal that was more humble, and I set too small a goal into too long a time frame, and then I got it done before the deadline. And so what I started to do is look back and reflect, and when I'm doing it, and what was my personality, what was my attitude, and I try to get present with those attitudes and look at what was making it closer to the deadline. Because if you set a goal that's actually met on the deadline, there's certainty that builds in your mind. But if you set a goal that's too big, you tend to get humbled and then you self-defeat. I call it depurposing. And then if you set a goal too small, you tend to get built up and that's repurposing. But if you set a goal that is actually on track, you stay purposing. And your purpose is very powerful. That's why I call myself a man on a mission in a sense. So I started doing that first. And I noticed when I was returning, and then I watched it and I got closer and closer on the goals until I was seeing that I was getting them within a reasonable time. And I was governing myself on goals because I noticed that I would sometimes have a big day and I'd get kind of puffed up and I'd exaggerate what I was going to do only to humble me. This is the problem with going to some seminars that are kind of, rah-rah seminars or whatever. You get manic, then you set these fantasy goals, and then 2 weeks later you crash and then you beat yourself up and you associate pain with setting goals. And that defeats you. So I'm not encouraging that. I don't want people all manic. I don't want people in fantasy land. I want people to be objective. That's objective builds a momentum. So I started doing that, started refining that and trying to get as close as I can to make sure the goals were getting it. Then I asked myself what worked and what didn't work each day. That's a great question. What worked, what didn't work each day? So I kept a list of things that did work and things that didn't work so I could start building a checklist of things to do and not to do, you might say, to refine the skill. And then I started keeping records. So if I said that I wanted to travel around the world, to every country in the world, I have a list of every country in the world and I'm ticking them off as I go. If I said I want to get as many cities as I can in my life, I tick them off. We're at 2,040 cities just about to hit. 2,040 cities. So I just keep records of all that. If I say I want to do consulting for companies, I keep a record of all the companies. It's nearly 3,000 now when I consider all the clinics that I've been in. And then if I go to people of celebrity or people in royalty or people in any form of specialty, I keep records of those to see if I'm actually setting what I'm actually doing and setting as a goal is happening. If I see no evidence of it, I need to come back to myself and go, is this really true? And then if I find that I'm not getting results on it, I do one of three things. Either refine the goal, delete the goal, or link what I'm doing, the action steps that it takes to get it, a new strategy, to my highest values. And then if I look back again at another quarter, am I seeing evidence that it's happening? Great. If I don't, it's time to refine the goal. It's obviously not important to me, or I'm not taking the time to strategically plan, or I'm not doing the actions. If I'm not doing the actions, it must not be really that important to me. When the why is big enough, the hows take care of themselves. You come up with the strategies and you take action. So what I do is I refine it so I'm not putting energy, thought energy, on something that's not really manifesting. I want to make sure I refine myself and know myself and be myself so I can love myself, as they say. So prioritizing like that and getting feedback and refining what you're doing, in my opinion, is a very significant thing and a sign that you're really committed to it. I don't think anybody who's doing a company, a major company has to have, if it's a floated company on a public company, it has to have a monitoring of all of its actions, its expenditures, its achievements. It's got to be done. It's governed. So I find the most powerful companies have more governance. If you're not governing yourself and you're not getting feedback and not putting, corrections into those systems and refinements as you go, a master is one who focuses on every finer detail and refines the actions until achievement. And so metrics are a great component of that. Same thing on finances. I had a projection of what I wanted to do by a certain date. I'm looking at where I am financially. If I'm above that or below that, I'll look at it, either adjust my strategy to accelerate it, or I basically reset the goal and get more realistic about it. One of the two. Because anytime you have a goal that's not matching what you're doing, you're beating yourself up. So you want the tension between what your goal is and what your actions are to be as little as possible and as congruent as possible. And that is found when you're living by your highest values, you have the less skewed distortions. Now, think about this. When you've had a day that's been really lived by high priorities and you really felt like you got amazing things done that were most important, you're more resilient, you're more adaptable, you're more easy to get along with, people don't disturb you as easily, you don't get distraction, you don't tend to distort, you don't tend to lie to yourself about things, you're more objective. But if you're not living by highest values and you let everybody else infiltrate your life and the whole day got wiped out and you never got anything important done, you're more volatile, you're more emotional, you swing from one side to the other, you're almost bipolar, and you tend to set goals that are skewed. So it's so important to stop, be grateful for what you're doing and get clear about what your goals are and make sure you're really going to high priority things. You're more objective, less emotional, and you're more accurate in your goals, and you're more governed.
Dr. Demartini, a question from the side just came in here. How do you do the linking towards something that's not inspiring to you towards to your values? Can you quickly just briefly explain that to us?
Yeah, any action in your life that you want to increase the probability of achieving or doing, if you find out what you are spontaneously doing that is aligned with your highest value every day, like my case, teaching and researching and traveling, if I take my highest value and I take something that is not showing as high on my values, let's say I wanted to go out and start working out every day or doing yoga every day, or whatever, something, or eating a certain way. If I find myself saying I'd like to do that, but I'm not doing it, it's not high enough of my values to structure things. So what I do is I ask, how is doing this going to help me fulfill my highest value? Anything you can see that's helping you fulfill your highest values, you increase the probability of incorporating into your life. So if you link it, not just one time, but ask the question, how specifically is doing this action going to help me fulfill my highest value? How else is it going to help me fulfill my highest value? If I answer that, no less than 25 times, your brain neuroplastically remodels itself and now sees how this action is going to get what's most important to you, because that's where you're reliable, disciplined, and focused. So you increase the odds of achieving it. I've had many people in the breakthrough experience over and over throughout the years that say that, I'd like to get financially well off, but no matter what I do, I don't seem to get ahead. And then we go and take the proven action steps that build wealth. And I love doing this in the breakthrough experience. Proven action steps to build wealth, and then link them to what their life is demonstrating they're committed to. And then when they finish that, when they really make those links, they notice that they see opportunities and make decisions differently, and they take actions that are more in line with what it is because they see that it's helping them get what they want. I had a guy that basically was not doing any exercise, really focused on business, was not doing anything. And I just asked him a simple question. Who are your mentors? Who are the people you look up to? And he listed some names. I said, how many of them work out, or how many play golf or do some sort of sport? And he goes, God, that's a good question. And we went and researched it and looked it up. He found that 8 out of 10 of the top people that he admired did some sort of regular exercise of some form, even if it was golf, which is a casual exercise, but still an exercise. And I said, if all of a sudden you were to incorporate that, do you think you could position yourself in the same playing field as these people? And the light bulb went on. All I did is made a link of exercise to doing it. And I said, let's make a list of how exercise might help you expand your business. He said, well, I could actually go running with colleagues and business partners. I could play golf with them. I said, what else? He said, well, I definitely have more energy when I'm doing that. And I definitely, when I'm fit, I tend to feel more confident. I'm able to close deals more effectively. And we started making the list and list and list and list. And his routine of exercise went to 3 times a week. And it changed his thing. And what it was is he diversified some of the actions to gear towards different clients. So whatever clients he thought would be interested in, he'd find out and ask questions, and then he would engage in those activities to help close deals, to build rapport with people. But once he saw that it was going to produce an income, he had no problem doing a bit of exercise.
Yeah. Isn't that injecting somebody's values into your life then?
No, it's linking those values to yours. Injecting them is because of subordination. Linking them is doing them consciously.
Okay, well, that's where I think that's an important distinction to have there. And number 4, Dr. Demartini, is progressively expanding incremental advancements to daily achievements. Can you please explain that a bit for us?
Yeah, when you're doing an action that you're inspired by, the second you achieve it, you want to go on to something greater. I use the videos of a young boy loves video games, same example. When he does a video game, he plays a game, it takes a while, but he eventually conquers it. The moment he conquers it, he feels like, okay, I achieved that, been there, done that. He now has a tendency to want to go and manipulate his parents to figure out a way of getting a more advanced game. He doesn't want a simpler game. That's like going backwards. He wants to go forward. So he wants to then go and advance to the next game. Now, if he tries to go 5 levels up, he'll self-defeat, overwhelming, and feel bad. But if he just does a little increment at a time, he'll go on the next game, conquer it, and he'll want to go to the next game. It's like going from first grade to second grade to third grade. But if you went to first grade to PhD level, you burn out, you want to give up. I don't want to go advance. You'd associate pain with advancement. But if you do a little bit at a time and build momentum with it, you become unstoppable. Like I said, when I first wanted to be financially independent, I really saw no light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't say I was going to do it until I came up with the force accelerated savings technique and force accelerated investment technique. Until then, I saw no way of getting what I was wanting to accomplish. And it wasn't even that much at the time. I just thought, there's no way I can do it. I don't see a strategy. But when I started to see that I could force accelerate it, I started out with 200, 300, 500, 750, 1,000, and I could see that I could go the next step. I didn't say I could go from, because I needed to save $22,500 a month in order to get my goal. And there was no way. I was saving 200. That was a 100-fold increase. There's no way I could do that in my mind. I didn't see how I could do it. Just outside my thinking at that time. But I could go from 1 to 200 to 300. And I saw that. And when I did that, I rewarded myself by having a momentum building. And I then realized, you know what? Now that I know how to do that, and I've made a habit of it, and I've got a habit of it, I can now go to 500. And then when I got that habit, and I did that for 3 months, because I did 90-day habits. At the end of 90 days, I made a habit of it. And once it was comfortable and I didn't have anxiety about it, I would increase it again. Maximum growth and development occurs at the border of support and challenge, ease and difficulty, chaos, order and chaos. And the second you're comfortable with something, if you're not expanding it, you stagnate and you plateau. And you end up losing the vitality and energy that you could have by setting the next goal. That's why I do incremental momentum building. Even though some people don't like Donald Trump, and I know people have different opinions about the guy, I'm very grateful for Donald for many reasons. I used to live underneath him. I've interacted with him and chatted with him. I've known him for 29 years. And one thing that he taught me is incremental momentum building actions. Just do a little bit more every single day. Just keep building it and building momentum. And don't stop doing the same thing until people identify you by that one thing. That's Gary Keller's one thing. My case, it's going and teaching human behavior, and particularly the breakthrough experience, which I've taught 1,090 times, 91 times. So I'm constantly building momentum that way. But if you do a little bit at a time, like I did with the finances, I started out below what I needed, but eventually it went way above what I needed. And it became geometric because compound interest started working on my behalf. And all of a sudden, the amount I'm saving goes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And after a while, the money takes off and it grows faster than you don't have to do anything and it grows fast. And that's the power of incremental momentum, just doing a little bit additional each time. When I did reading, I knew I wanted to overcome my reading. I just did those little action steps of studying those words a day. Then I decided, you know what? I'm going to start off with an encyclopedia. And I started reading whatever pages I could in a day. I'd end up stopping. I'd read the next pages. I'd end up stopping until I knocked out 8 complete sets of 20 to 25 volume sets of encyclopedias so I could increase my vocabulary, expand my awareness of different disciplines, and be able to have more of a polymathic understanding so I could get the most universal laws to be able to teach the most strongest long-term foundation of material that I could use to make a difference in people's lives. So it was a step-by-step incremental momentum building. And my reading got faster. I asked every day what worked and what didn't work on reading. And I documented it until I developed a speed reading skill of my own and my own speed reading class. And then people started asking me to do it, which sped up my things. And I started to learn that if I give deadlines to myself, I'll end up reading even faster. So I kept giving deadlines and putting myself under pressure to see what I could do with my mind. Then I discovered that my unconscious had information that my conscious didn't even know. And then I realized when I finally got to understand that the information that I saw was in there, and all I needed to have was a purpose to draw it out, I didn't have to limit my learning to conscious information. And then my speed reading went vast. Then I was able to absorb vast amounts of information. But it was incremental momentum building actions that allowed me to achieve my learning capacities, my speaking capacities, everything else. You know, when I learned to speak at first, you'd laugh at me if you saw some of the early speeches. You'd just fall over laughing. But in the process, you learn to play the flute by playing the flute. If you stay with something, you refine it, and you become master. If you're a singer, a dancer, a performer, an actor, a comedian. I had lunch with Paul Chowdhury today, a famous English comedian. And he's just working constantly every day on the comedy. And that's what happens. He builds momentum until he's a world-class comedian.
And Dr. Demartini, number 5 is, and I know we've covered this a bit, but gradual expansion of space and time horizon for ever greater achievements.
Now, I have covered some of that, but let me just say this. You know, when I read Seneca and Epictetus, the Greek philosopher and the Roman poet, and then I read Einstein, some of his work, because when I first came home from Hawaii many years ago, and I was, 18 years old and just learning how to read. It was quite interesting. Pardon me for being a little bit of an Amazon here with a big bottle of water.
No, that's fine.
When I first came home, I told my mother that Paul Bragg gave me an affirmation that I'm a genius and I apply my wisdom. And I really didn't know what a genius was at the time. So I asked my mom, I've been saying this affirmation, I'm a genius and I apply my wisdom to help me overcome my learning problems. It seems like it's sort of helping me, but Mom, what exactly is a genius? I didn't know what it was. And she said, well, it's people like Albert Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci. And I said, well then Mom, can you get me every book that's ever been written about those two guys? And my mom was a pretty amazing lady. And my dad was, my mom and dad were so inspired that I wanted to learn that they did some pretty amazing things to assist me on that. I mean, if I needed a book, they would say, they made me accountable. Sometimes I have to work around the house or in the yard because we had a piece of plot of land that we had to keep clean and stuff. And I had to go work for it, but they would find out where to get them and get a book because I was living in the country and they'd find where to get the book and get the book. But they got me some books, and there was a really neat message that I got from Albert Einstein. And another one from Socrates, from Epictetus. And it says that I'm not a man of my local family. I'm not a man of my community. I'm not a man of my city. I'm not a man of my state. I'm not a man of my nation. I'm not a man of my world. I'm a citizen of the universe. And when I read that, I couldn't describe it. I just got tears in my eyes. And I just felt that there's something there. Just something there. And I just imagine myself out here. The universe is me. And I'm a man of the universe. And I thought if I had a big vision like that, it would make life would be easier. And I found that Socrates said the same thing, according to Epictetus, because Epictetus was quoting Socrates. I'm not a man of Corinth. I'm not a man of Athens. I'm a citizen of the world. In those days, the world was considered the universe. It was the cosmological term. The world meant cosmos.
Yeah.
And that was pretty significant. Then I sat with Rupert Murdoch, who had a media news corp. I was sitting with him and my former wife, Athena, and Jan Tall and Denise, which is his wife, who is the daughter of Rupert. And we're all having dinner in New York. And I leaned over to Rupert and I said, Rupert, how did you build your empire? Tell me what you did and to see and to create your empire, because you have a global vision. And he said to me something that was really significant. So simple. He said, I have a globe in my office on my desk, which, by the way, I got a globe on my desk immediately. And I got a globe, and he says, I hold that globe in my hand, I spin it around in my hand, and I look at the world spinning around the equator. And then he says to himself, what message do I want to bring to what part of the world today? And when he said that, I went, got it. So I already had a map of the world. I already had an astronomical map. I already had an astrological map in my office and a sphere of astronomy because my wife was into astrology. And But I took that globe that was astronomical. It was a zodiac globe, which was the celestial sphere outside the terrestrial sphere, and started spinning it as if I was out here at the farthest reaches of the fixed stars in the Ptolemaic and Aristotelian cosmology. And I imagine myself out here, not just outside looking at the earth, but way outside looking down at the solar system. And I started thinking, what message do I want to bring to what country today? What's the message I have for the world? What's my mission? And I used an affirmation. Before that, I had an affirmation that the universe is my playground, the world is my home, every country is a room in the house, every city is a platform to share my heart and soul. And that's been my message and my thinking since I was 20. I've been saying that inside. And ever since I read Einstein, I started to say the universe is my playground, the world is my home. But then I added every country is a room in the house and everything else. Then in 2004, pardon me, going into 2005, when I, as an anniversary present, I bought this condominium on this ship called the World. We were at the opening of that ship when it's about to do its maiden launch. And the captain, the Viking captain, said on the evening before we did our maiden launch, first night we ever slept on the ship, he said, the world, the universe is your playground. The world is your home, and every country's room in the house. And I remember turning to Athena at the time, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and we both got a tear in the eye. And I went, wow, I have made that statement since I'm 20. I'm now 47. So that's 27 years of saying that statement. And here all of a sudden, the captain of a ship is using the very affirmation that I've stated. And I'm a firm believer that the world is our home. And someday the solar system will be our home, and someday even possibly beyond that. So the magnitude of space and time in your innermost dominant thought will determine the level of conscious evolution you obtain. If you don't see the world from out here, from a transcendent state, and look down at the world, you'll be caught in judgments, and you'll be caught in tribal thinking, and you'll be subordinate to traditions and conventions and mothers and fathers and preachers and teachers and everything around you. And you won't give yourself permission to look at a vast vista of possibility of what you could do and give yourself permission to create. Most people, as I've said in some talks before, they think, what educational university should I go to give me prestige? So they subordinate to a name, a brand. What religion should I belong to? Again, subordinating to a brand. What political group should I support? A brand. What sports team should I get behind? A brand. What social institution or social cause should I support? A brand. Most people don't give themselves permission. They sit in subordinating, and they're part of another culture instead of giving rise to creating their own culture. I didn't want to be part of a culture on the outside. I wanted to create my own culture. I want to have millions and billions of students that were a culture of people that thought wisely, that were inspired, that wanted to do something amazing. It's the reason I put the breakthrough experience together. I know it's an idea whose time has come. It's within the tiny seed lies a mighty oak. And I had a dream to create a culture of people that were on a mission and on a path to do something extraordinary on planet Earth. And if you allow yourself that vision inside, there's nothing mortal, there's nothing terrestrial that distracts you from a bigger mission. And that's the value of having a greater, ever greater space and time horizons. Because every time you achieve that horizon is going to get bigger. And every time you achieve, it's going to get bigger. It never gets smaller. Once your brain has been stretched, you never go back. But the thing is, the magnitude of that space and time will determine the level of conscious evolution you've obtained. And the bigger the problem you've solved on the planet, the bigger the most fulfillment your life becomes. I think everybody's probably learned that if you go out and do something that makes a difference in people's lives, you get the fulfillment out of it by making the difference. And that's solving some problem, solving some mystery, filling in some void in their life, helping them get an opportunity, have some challenge, filling some need in their life. We have a sensory cortex and a motor cortex, an inner cortex, you might say. And the sensory cortex is for receiving rewards. The motor cortex is for giving service. Your serve determines your deserve. When you put those together in perfect equity and equanimity, in total sustainable fair exchange, and expand both of them, expand who you are and your awareness of who you are, and expand the influence that you have in the world, your overall level of fulfillment gets bigger. And as a result of it, you look back at your life, And there's a great question at the end of your life. Did you do everything you could with everything you were given? You want to be able to say, yes. I lived my life to the fullest. I was inspired by it. And you're not going to live inspired life unless you're delegating lower party things. You're getting onto higher party things. You're doing something that serves. You're getting remunerated for that to pay for the delegations. So you're getting rewarded to do what you love on a daily basis. So your vocation and vacation are the same. And then you're giving job opportunities and you're building a culture of people that are, as a result of your influence, you're doing it in a way where everybody wins. So they're perceiving it charismatically and they're part of a new movement and culture that you envisioned in your innermost dominant thought. And in the process of doing that, nobody can stop that. There's nobody on the planet that has the power to stop another individual who's inspired by something that's objective, that they've incrementally put a plan together on, didn't stop, metriced it, kept building it, and became unstoppable. There's a lovely girl who I met when she's 11 years old that has a fashion company, lovely girl. And she basically, Mrs. Swan, I call her. And then what she's done is she's gone out and she just kept building her fashion increment by increment. But she's 11 years old. And if she keeps building her increment like that, she'll be unstoppable. Her company's called Unstoppable. It's quite beautiful.
And Dr. Demartini, how do you help people when they feel stuck or they feel they can't, get that expansion? How do you help them to get unstuck from that?
Well, if they're stuck, they're basically, most plateaus that I've seen, consulting with hundreds of companies.
Yeah.
Most plateaus is unclear vision. They don't see the next step, and they're so much wallowed in the putting out fires and getting caught in things they're infatuated with or resentful, which are distractions, instead of getting to priority. If you're not living by highest priority thing and the number one thing and doing the number one thing that's the highest priority in a day, you're going to plateau. And plateau is a feedback mechanism to let you know you're off priority. You've lost your vision. You can't see it. If I ask anybody who's plateaued and feels frustrated like that, I ask them, so what is your mission? And tell me about it. They don't see it. They can't see it. When I was 18 years old, and I had to take my first college test, and I failed it miserably. I got a 27 instead of 72. And I passed my GED test, my high school equivalency test, and I passed my college entrance exam by guessing, just purely guessing, and passed. I assumed I was going to pass all of them because I guessed and I passed. But when I took my first test, I failed. In that moment, on the drive home from the school, and when I got home, I curled up in a fetal position under the Bible stand in my living room. And that Bible stand, by the way, is sitting in my office to remember that moment, to never forget the moment where you lost your vision and reclaimed it. It sits in my office as a reminder of that. But I sat there and I couldn't see my vision. All I could hear is my first grade teacher say, he'll never read, he'll never, he won't ever speak and communicate, he'll never mount anything, never go very far in life, never mount anything kind of thing. And I lost my vision. And in that moment, if I had not had what my mom did to me just seconds later, I might have never gone on. My life would have maybe gone back and make surfboards in Hawaii and been a hippie kid. But my mom came back there that day and caught me and came in from shopping and saw me crying on the living room floor. I'm 18 years old. She hadn't seen me cry in many years. And she said, "What happened, son? What's wrong?" I told her what happened. And she said something to me that was perfect. She said, "Son, whether you become a great teacher here and philosopher and travel the world like you dream, whether you become a great, return back to surfing giant waves like you've done in Hawaii, or return and panhandle as a bum on the streets like you've also done, because I knew you lived on the streets. I just want to let you know that your father and I, no matter what you do, we're going to love you." Wow. When somebody lets you know that they love you with gratitude, with certainty, and with total presence, the 4 cardinal pillars of healing, there's no way you're not going to break through a plateau. Love is the most powerful plateau breaker. So if you're doing what you love to do, and you're doing what's highest on your priority, and your executive center comes online with blood glucose and oxygen, and your vision becomes clear again, when those with a vision flourish and those without a vision perish, is an old biblical proverb. I think it's in Proverbs. So if we go through there and prioritize our daily life and keep looking at the incremental action steps and keep building momentum, we're not going to plateau. Yeah. But if we go away from that and compare ourselves to other people. The number one thing that plateaus people call limiting beliefs. But I've never found a limited belief inside a human being. What I found is an injected value from people you're comparing yourself to on the outside and thinking they have a better deal than you, and you're injecting their values and clouding the glare of your own mission and having an internal conflict between what you want to do and what you think you're supposed to do, have to do, should do, got to do, must do by outside imperatives. Freud warned against this and called it the superego. It's the moralizing critical principle that actually stops people from action. And many of the people are comparing themselves to other people. Either you put people down and put yourself up and trying to get them to live in your values, which is futile energy, plateauing you, or you infatuate with somebody and try to live in their values again, which is futile energy and plateauing you. And you're not back on your own mission and your own highest values, and you're not clear, and you're not shaking it down into small actions and taking baby action steps. Action cures fear, and it's taking little action steps every single day that gives you a dream. And you won't plateau once you get back on track on priority, because your executive center sees the vision. And once you see a vision, you see a strategy and you take actions again. So I've had many of those momentary look like plateau moments in my life, but when I analyze what it was, and now I know what to do with it, and we break through it. My whole purpose of the breakthrough experience, believe it or not, I was flying from Houston, Texas to Montreal, passing through Montreal to go to Quebec City to do a presentation to doctors in Quebec City. And there I was meditating on a plane, on a jet. I think it was maybe American Airlines. And was sitting on that plane and meditating, and I got literally a lucid vision. And it said, I saw a vision, and I wrote it down. And I still have it in my drawer in my office. And it says, Breakthrough to Higher Power, the VIP Seminar, Vision, Inspiration, and Purpose Seminar, an idea whose time has come. Within the tiny seed lies a mighty oak. Wow, I wrote that down with tears in my eyes, and I knew that I knew that I knew, with that lucid vision, that that idea has come. And 1,091 times later, that thing is reality. I've taken 100,000 people through that process, and from that 100,000 people, now millions of people are impacted by it. So I'm absolutely certain if you follow a vision, amazing things happen. Truly amazing things can happen. You got to give yourself permission to not subordinate to the world on the outside, but let the voice and the vision on the inside run you. Those who lose their vision and lose their message for the world, they hold themselves back from their greatness.
And then Dr. Demartini, the last one, the best one that we left for last is gratitude. How important is gratitude in helping you to build momentum for achievement?
Well, I was born on Thanksgiving Day, as you may remember, and I think my mom had to eat a turkey sandwich, and I think I've been eating turkey sandwiches ever since, probably as a consequence. I was 4 years old, and my mom was putting me to bed, putting the little covers over me, you know, on my chest. And she said, now, son, she's sitting on the side of the bed, turning sideways. And she said, now, son, as you go to bed and you go into the dream world, I want you to think about what you're grateful for today and count your blessings. Because those that are grateful for what they have, they receive more to be grateful for. Now, that was very significant at 4, even though I didn't really comprehend the meaning of all that. Later on in my life, before my mother died, in 1997, in fact, she didn't die till 2002, but we didn't know if she was going to make it in 1997. I published a book called Count Your Blessings. I had a lady named Tony Rubino assist me on the production of that book, editing it. And we created a book called Count Your Blessings, kind of as a reminder. As basically, I want to get that out before my mom passed. And it was about making sure that you stop and reflect. Now, this is going to sound a little esoteric, and maybe this will offend some of you, but that's okay. I don't mind doing that, because I know in the long run, it'll make you think. But regardless of what your belief system theologically is, I'm a panpsychic. I believe that there is a field of intelligence, a vast intelligence that permeates the universe, that's more fundamental than space, time, energy, and matter. And that unconditional consciousness or intelligence comes out as energy, as light. And conditional consciousness comes out as matter and antimatter. And as Empedocles, the ancient Greek philosopher, said, that there's love and strife in the universe. And when you're able to be unconditional and you're able to see both sides synchronously and synthesize and synchronize the pairs of opposites, you have love and you're enlightened. And when you're not and you're judging, you have strife. Strife is gravitationally and weighs you down. Love radiational and expands you. And gratitude is a perfectly equilibrated state. There's two types of gratitude. There's a superficial gratitude, when people do what you want and you go, thank you, thank you, thank you. And there's a deep gratitude when you discover the implicate order, the hidden order in your daily chaos, and you see the pairs of opposites synchronously, and you sit there and you go, wow, there's an intelligence in the universe making sure that I'm authentic. If I get cocky, I get humbled. If I get down, I get lifted. My physiology is creating symptoms to guide me there. My psychology with its intuition is guiding me there. My friends and enemies, my sociology is giving me feedback. And theology with tragedy and comedy are getting me back into authenticity. And when you actually get humble in this intelligence, you're in awe, and there's a true grace that comes out of your life. And you're not trapped in anthropomorphic deities that you pray to out of your own phobias and fears and dissociations. You're just grateful. Because sometimes we go around, I said in my book, The Breakthrough Experience, that those searching for God the most are the ones denying the divine presence that's always here. And if we don't see it, we're going to be searching for it. When you actually realize it's never missing, it's always present, there's nothing to search for. There's an honoring of it. It was Albert Einstein when I was 18 that gave me a quote that inspired me. It's enough for me on a daily basis to sit in awe before the massive intelligence that permeates the universe. He says, I have no time for anthropomorphic deities made by humans' images in the image of man with punishing, rewarding anthropomorphisms, but I do have an honor for the intelligence that governs the natural laws of the universe. And to me, the greatest worship is to consistently go in and explore the mysteries with holy curiosity on a daily basis. I'm a firm believer that we're here to expand our awareness to no end, and to go and probe into beyond our initial sensory reality and judgments into a deeper mystery of love that's present, which opens up a graceful state of pure gratitude. And gratitude is the key that opens up the gateway of the heart, allows love to come radiating out. That inspires the mind, brings enthusiasm to the body, which heals the body. It's the greatest healer. And then you have certainty about your destiny because you're not wavering with emotions, and you're present. And when you're present, you're empowered. And you're not living in past and future with fear and guilt and phobias and nightmares and stuff. You're living in an absolute presence. And boy, there's nothing that can stop. No mortal person with judgments and projections and expectations can distract you from that. You're a man on a mission or a woman on a mission doing something amazing. That's the purpose of the breakthrough experience as far as I'm concerned. And every program I do is designed to help people help master their life, help them wake up that natural leader that they have waiting to emerge inside them. It's submerged because we're subordinating as following people instead of leading and giving ourselves permission to create our own culture of influence. You're automatically, when you do that, you're automatically going to get ridiculed by the standard quo, the standard paradigm and tradition. Ridicule, violently opposed until you're self-evident to find out if you're committed. And those that do, they become what Ayn Rand calls the unborrowed visionaries. Whoa, an unborrowed visionary is somebody that's got an original idea that's about to change the world. I had a dream. When I was 18 to do that, to create original ideas that serve humanity. I really believe that the breakthrough experience and the method that I developed, and some of the work with the application of values is an idea whose time has come that's an original piece of work that's here, that's going to make a difference. And it's building momentum. And I really believe that first it's ridiculed, then it's violently opposed. Gandhi said that, Schopenhauer said that, many have said that, but eventually it becomes self-evident and a new paradigm is born, and then a new culture transcends the old dogma of the traditions of the past and gives rise to a present, powerful, and purposeful, and poised, and really productive, prioritized state of consciousness. And I'm a firm believer that that's available to all of us. That's what I'm trying to do every weekend in the breakthrough experience. I do it every single weekend to try to help people get that. Because if they do, they don't have to worry about motivation on the outside. They're inspired. I don't want people to be motivated. I think it's a cheap outpass. It's a symptom of problems in life instead of an actual solution where you're inspired. When you're doing something you can't wait to do in the morning and you want to tap dance to work, as Buffett says, and you are unstoppable and you have build momentum and you achieve more, and you are going to be grateful. And that's why I document every single day the gratitudes. Every single day I document. I don't go to bed without those documented. And I've got the largest collection of gratitudes of anybody I've met in this world. And it's only because I made a habit of it. And you do incremental amounts, a little bit each day. But when you look back at it and you read that, it brings tears to your eyes and you realize you got a life that's pretty amazing, that's worth being grateful for. So I'm a firm believer in doing the gratitude. I think that's the key of achievement also. Very important part. It keeps the ball rolling. The more you're grateful, the more you expand. And the more you get synchronicities, and the more you live authentically. And the more the people, places, things, ideas, and events in life come synchronously into your existence to help you build momentum to powerful, inspired visions and innermost dominant thoughts, so they become outermost tangible realities in your life. So gratitude is one of the key elements of this whole game. And I put it as an extra bonus on there because I think it would be left out. I couldn't leave that one out.
That's phenomenal. Thanks for that, Dr. Demartini. And for those of the attendees that want to join you for the breakthrough experience, can you please explain, what will they be experiencing when they attend the breakthrough experience? Can you take us step by step through the weekend, what they can get from there?
The breakthrough experience it's about 26 hours with me, but it's 2 days, and it goes from 8 o'clock to about midnight or so. Sometimes later. I've gone all the way to 5 because I don't let anybody leave there until they have a breakthrough. It goes again from about 9 o'clock in the morning, give or take, to probably 7 or 8 at night. It's about 26 hours. And I'm going to do everything I can in that weekend to try to get you to go and break through whatever you see is in the way of what you want to do in life. And if you're not clear about what you want to do, and you're not clear about your mission, and you're not clear about what your values are, well, that's what we're going to do. And if you're not clear about the strategy, you're going to have time to look at that and work on that. And I'm going to be covering values and what the values are and how living by congruently with them and how, if you don't do that, what's the consequences. I'm going to be talking about psychology. I'm going to give you, I've had psychologists attend that program and said in Saturday morning, in one morning from 8 till 1:30 when I go to lunch, that they learn more in psychology than their entire PhD program. I've had that many, many times said to me because they just got it so practically integrated, summarizing philosophy and psychology woven together and neurology woven for them, that they have a greater appreciation of how the brain is working and how we're to run our life. I show people how to master their life. I show people how to not let emotions on the outside distract you from missions on the inside. I show you how to if you get infatuated or resentful or distracted or anything that's stopping you from being inspired and present and grateful and loving and enthused, I show you how to return it back to that. Then in the afternoon, I teach you how to literally do the Demartini method. And this is a methodical, scientific, reproducible, duplicatable mechanism of questions that you wake up your unconscious to make you fully conscious, strengthens your intuition, strengthens your reasoning powers, strengthens your self-governance powers, help you dissolve your distractions in life, help you break through things you've been resented or infatuated with your life, and allows you to get present. And the whole purpose of that is to help you realize the power you have inside you and to show you there's nothing missing in you. See, at the level of the essence of your soul, nothing's missing. At the level of the existence of your senses, things appear to be missing in your life. Everything you're too proud to admit you have that you see in others, or anything you're too humble to admit you see in others inside you, is holding you back. It's making you play disempowered. You're having deflective awareness, not reflective awareness. I show you how to dissolve that. Get present. Own the traits. Own your hero and villain. I explained to you the illusion of positive thinking and break through that delusion. That's an antiquated model that's keeping people stuck. I show you how to transcend that because you can't get rid of half of yourself and expect to love yourself. In order to love yourself, you got to embrace all of you. Your hero, your villain, your saint, your sinner, your virtues, your vice, every aspect of you, because trying to get rid of yourself will be futile. When you finally love all parts of yourself, you give yourself permission, because the only thing that distracts you and breaks your focus are all the things you disown inside you. When you own it all, as the Bampa Lama taught me when I was in Nepal chatting with the Bampa Lama, nothing's missing in you. I want you to have fulfillment, and fulfillment comes when you see that nothing's missing. You have all the resources you have in order to get and do something amazing with your life. So the breakthrough experience is designed to do that. So you're not sitting distracted trying to get other people to live in your values, trying to you to live in other people's values, but you get permission to live yourself in your own values and learn how to communicate what you want to do in terms of other people's values. So you help them get what they want, so they turn around and help you get what you want. And it's a totally different life if a person masters those principles. And I've asked people at the end of the breakthrough experience, how many of you learned something this weekend that you could have gone your whole life and never learned? Every hand goes up, because they realize that I just gave them some original ideas that really will stand the test of time. and it has stood the test of time. So if a person wants to master life and break through and find original ideas that serve people, want to go out and do something maybe on a global scale in their business, want to build some wealth in their life and have financial independence, which I've shown. I've done all those areas of life. I've set out and I've mastered those. If you want to have a global relationship, if you want to have social influence, if you want to have a vital body with energy, you know, some people go, well, how old are you? And they go, almost 66. And they go, you got more energy than I do. And if you want to go out and do something inspiring in your life and create an inspired movement, you know, it's interesting that most of the people who are following religious leaders on the planet are following people that didn't follow people. They were original thinkers. I would much rather be an original thinker and follow in their footsteps than to follow them behind them. I'd rather go and lead like them. So I'm a firm believer in doing that. And the breakthrough experience for people that want to do that, want to empower the 7 areas of life, want to break through the emotional bullshit that's stopping them in their life, want to get clear about what their mission is, want to find a strategy on how to learn to delegate things and how to get on with doing something more extraordinary in life. It's for people that do that. It's not, I'm gonna tell you what it's not. It's not a rah-rah session. You're not gonna stand on chairs and go rah-rah and listen to music all day. There's gonna be work involved. There's gonna be accountability involved. I'm gonna hold you accountable because any area of your life you don't govern, somebody else is gonna govern. And you gotta learn that. People who are governing themselves become leaders. People that have to be governed on the outside are gonna be followers. And people that want immediate gratification and want entertainment and want the rah-rah, they're not gonna be the leaders on the planet. They're the people that want to escape because they're constantly doing things low on their priorities and they're wanting to escape and they need an outlet for that. The people who are leaders want to solve problems. People that are actually dedicated to doing something amazing in life want to go and solve the biggest problems they can and go and do something that awakens their own genius in life. I'm interested in those people. So if you're interested in rah-rah, please don't come. Don't waste my time and your time. But if you're interested in going and exploring the principles that will stand the test of time and self-mastery and leadership, then the breakthrough experience is for you. And I'm very inspired by it. I've been doing it for 31 plus years now. And it's a very empowering weekend experience. And it's called an experience. It used to be called the Breakthrough to Higher Power program. But after a while, nobody called it that. They called it that breakthrough experience. So I just changed the title and said, okay, that's what people keep calling it. It's an experience. It's a life-changing trajectory experience.
Thanks for making that distinction, Dr. Demartini, who it's for and who it's not for. And for those of you that's on here on this webinar, I'm sure many of you would love to learn how to apply some of Dr. Demartini's learnings and principles and would want to join us for the Breakthrough Experience. You'll see exclusively for this webinar, we've put together the Breakthrough Experience Accelerator package, where you'll get the Breakthrough Experience that is valued at $1,999 US. And then you also get the 12-week post-breakthrough experience support course. So that is a 12-week after you've done the breakthrough experience, where you'll get videos where Dr. Demartini explains principles that was discussed in the breakthrough experience that he'll take you through weekly so you can keep on building what you've learned at the breakthrough experience. And then after that, with that, you also get the Dr. Demartini's #1 online course, which is called Inspired Destiny. So that is help you to get more clarity with your vision and your mission and your purpose, exactly the principles that Dr. Demartini discussed here tonight, but there Dr. Demartini goes into more depth with that. And then also what you'll get is a 1 hour live priority power assessment with one of our consultants. So that is where we will help you to see what is the things that's the most important thing you can work on and the things that's holding you back from actually working on that. And then also you get access to the Breakthrough Experience community on Facebook. So there we've got all the people that's done the Breakthrough Experience all over the world. We've got them all together in a group and we're sharing content and exercises and growth in that group. So the value of this whole package that you're getting here exclusively tonight is $5,441 US. So what you can do is you can see below on the slide, there is a screen that you can put that into a new tab. It's called, or you can just type in there demartini.inc/BTE2. You can put that in the link, or you can see in the comment sections or the chat section. You can click on the link. It will take you through to a landing page where you can take up this offer. You'll see we have got breakthrough experience in South Africa, in Australia, in New Zealand, and United Kingdom, and in Canada. So please take up that offer. If you can click through on there, and also you will get a discount for that if you click on that tonight. So the discounts will be exclusively to your country. So please go through and then go click on that to see what is available in your country. And then if you do want a payment plan option, we do have that also available where you can either click through it and see what is the payment plan available option, or you can talk to our team online on our website. We've got somebody there that can help you to get more clear on what you can do for your payment plan. So Dr. Demartini, do you have anything else to add for us for this evening?
Yes, Emil, thank you. Thank you, first of all of you for being on tonight or today, wherever you are, because some of you may be early in the morning and who knows where. Thank you for, it's been my observation that the people who, over the years that I've been teaching for 47 years now, the people who need it the most do it the least. And the people who need it the least do it the most. The people who are consistently developing themselves and working on mastering their life, it's just like, imagine this. Imagine somebody who's a singer or a flute player or a golfer. The person who practices in between their performance in order to master becomes the master. And the person that just plays at the performance is an amateur. The person who's really working on their own mastery and working and realizing nothing's missing in them and working on realizing that they have the power to do something extraordinary. And the ones that put the most energy into it are the ones that get a result. And what's interesting is the people that get the result tend to do it the most, and the people who need it the most don't do it. I watched that, and I also noticed that the ones that didn't do that were usually the ones that were bitching. And the people that did do that are usually the ones that are enriching. So I'm a firm believer. I watched that all the way through my 20s and 30s, and it was self-evident as far as I was concerned. So I made sure that I put more energy into that than anybody. And I've watched my students. I have some students. The longest student I have is 47 years. He's from Tehran for Persia. And I've watched that over all these years. And I'm absolutely certain that the ones that have put the most energy into it have gone the farthest and achieved the most in life. So you can't put your hand in the pot of glue without some of the glue sticking when it comes to learning. You can't hang out with people that are doing extraordinary things without it rubbing off. And you can't do daily action steps without building momentum towards great achievements. So first of all, thank you for being with me tonight. I hope that this was meaningful and inspiring to you, because that's what I hope for in here. And I just want to know, I want you to know that I want to help you accomplish what it is that you want to do. There's nothing more inspiring to me. When I do the breakthrough experience on Saturday night, I have the opportunity to sit at the front of the room, usually at the end of the night, around 10:30 to about 1 o'clock. And I watch people break through one after another. And I sometimes have 10, 20, 30, 40. I've had to probably 70 tear of gratitude moments in one night. There's no way I can not have gratitude when I go away from that weekend, because I watch people that have, I had a guy this weekend was really tough and he was having difficulty loving himself, and he stayed, and my facilitators stayed, my helpers there, they stayed with him until he broke through, and he got it. He got to appreciate himself, and I looked at him, I could see it in his eye. I seen a woman recently that was really wanting to beat herself up because she felt she undermined a relationship. And I saw her open her heart to herself, and she freed up the attachment to the past and all of a sudden move forward again. I've seen people be bitter. I saw a gentleman in Florida at a breakthrough, really bitter and wanted to take a person down. It was a major $2 million lawsuit already. It was costing him, and he wanted to bring this guy down. He would have probably killed the guy if he hadn't sat down with me and done the method. And I watched him contact the person, open up a dialogue, communicate, clear the thing, and do business and move forward again. I've watched some amazing things. I've seen people with heal in their body. I've seen, literally in the weekend, I've seen healing stuff. I saw skin conditions change. I saw heart palpitations and murmurs change. I've seen people with health issues of all kinds of things, digestive orders and skin disorders and immune diseases and all kinds of stuff clear up in that program. I've seen people in relationships, boom, that were basically on the blink, reestablished and learn how to communicate. I teach people how to link values and communicate values. I've seen people also with unclarity about their business, all of a sudden get it clear and get the tear. I saw that this weekend right here in Dublin. I saw a lady that was sitting there going, I'm not sure what I want to do. And boom, she got it. Get tears, and she goes, I know. I watched her write her mission statement on that. And I've seen people who apply the breakthrough experience principles and methods, And it's inspiring to watch that. My gratitude list today that I have is not just my gratitude, what I experienced. It's all of my students sending those to me and what they're experiencing. That's part of my gratitude journal today, is all the things that I'm hearing from my students that are doing extraordinary things. People that are producing movies, people that are getting achievements in business, people that are building wealth, and people that are going out and having children. In the last month, I've had 5 women that, as a result of what they learned in Breakthrough, doing their mother, they did the Demartini method and cleared the issue on their mother. And they've been trying to get pregnant for 2 years to 5 years, got pregnant. Now, I'm jokingly, people say, well, did you do something with them? No, they came there and they broke through the issue that they had unconsciously were blocking them from allowing them to have babies in their life. I mean, I've seen so many things transform in that program, I can't even describe it. I could spend the day, I could spend a week talking about them. And we're doing a movie, in fact, we're filming a movie starting in Japan here in a couple of weeks. We're doing a movie on the Breakthrough Experience. So if you have any interest in being part of that, you might contact us, because you might actually be in the movie as we're filming, because we're filming the breakthroughs and showing the transformations in people's lives. It's going to be a Netflix movie. And but I just want you to know that if you're ready to do something different with your life and transform your life, I just love making a difference in people's lives. I will stay there with you at the Breakthrough Experience and help you break through the limits and show you the tools on how to do that. So please take the time to consider this, because I know if you do, you'll say thank you. I've watched people over the years, and I know the people that have stayed with it and applied the principles. I know it'll do for your life. So I look forward to helping you in some way at the Breakthrough Experience, wherever I am around the world. It's in the United States, it's all over the world. We do them all over. And I just look forward to do that. And hopefully, if you're on this, let me know that you were on this program here today, and let me know so I can give you a big hug and say, thank you for joining me on that. Let's go change the trajectory of your life together.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Demartini. Really appreciate that. And as we were talking, Dr. Demartini, I was seeing in the comment section people saying that they have either attended the Breakthrough Experience or they just signed up for the Breakthrough Experience now through this webinar. So that's very inspiring to see people are taking action and committing to attending the Breakthrough Experience and helping them to awaken their genius and their vision for their life. Like I said to you, we got the accelerator package for you available here on the webinar tonight. So you can see on your screen, we currently have that available. So you can click through on that link, or in the link, you can click through on that, or you can just put the demartini.inc/BTE2. You can put it in a new browser, and then you can see the landing page there, and then you can register through that. If you see that the country that you do want to attend, the Breakthrough Experience is not there, you'll see there is a ticket that you can book for a year, that you can that is valid for a year, that you can attend the next time where Dr. Demartini is in your country, or you can just reach out to our team and ask us when the next one will be closest to you. So we look forward to having you at the Breakthrough Experience, but please don't let finances stand in your way. We also do have payment plans on that. So Dr. Demartini, do you have any last closing comments for us? And then we'll let you go.
No, just thank you all for listening tonight. Thank you for considering joining me. I look forward to being of service, and I really appreciate you sharing the message. Let people know that what we can do and how we can help people, and just pass the torch forward. Let what you learn go out and make a difference in other people's lives, because I know that if you do, you'll have more fulfillment in life. So I look forward to seeing you on the next seminar, Breakthrough Experience, or webinar, whatever we do. Thank you. Please take advantage of our online information and radio, television, newspapers, magazines, podcasts, everything we do. Please check and keep your eyes open also for a new video we just did with London Real, which is a great thing that Brian Rose did an interview. It's a fantastic interview that we look forward to sharing with you. And please let people know about it. Get it out to people, because it could make a difference in many people's lives. It's a great interview that will help people. Thank you for this tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at the Breakthrough Experience or wherever we get to meet. Thank you, and I love you.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Demartini. For those of you that's still online, that still have questions, we will be still online, my team, that will be still answering questions. So if you do have any questions, please put in the chat box. Dr. Demartini, thanks for being here. We will let you go now and have a great evening. But for those of that you join us, thank you so much. And we look forward to having you at one of the the next convenient time that we will see you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks, John.